Sonoma Sideshow.
All right, welcome to Sonoma Sideshow. Recorded at Grim Reaper Studios, located somewhere at the base of the beautiful Blue Mountains in eastern Oregon. I'm your host, Les, the Snowman Kinnear. Big show tonight. Gonna go out to our special correspondent in Southeast Texas, and we have a local legend guitar player, Albert Tibbets. Should be a good show, folks. I think I'm gonna try to talk him into doing a little jamming at the end, and just acoustically, may not be the best feed, but I'm hoping it'll be fun and come across. And we're hoping Big Steve will stop by the studio also and join in with a little harp, so we'll see. But first, let's get out to Southeast Texas and see what's going on. Let's go out to Southeast Texas to Special Correspondent Kevin Porkchop Klutts. Kevin, how you doing out there in Southeast Texas tonight?
Dude, Snowman, we good down here.
Oh, good. What do you got for us tonight?
Hey, I got some, actually, I'm gonna bring it home for you.
All right.
I got some Oregon news.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, NPR news. Well, they reported the Portland Pickles need your help finding their stolen mascot, Dylan T. Pickle. Portland Pickles, a baseball team, says their beloved mascot was lost at JFK International Airport.
Really?
Yeah, the guys were down there in the Caribbean playing a tournament, and I believe they won. And on the way home, Dylan got lost, JFK. The pickle was found a few days later, though, and shipped back to the home office in Portland, where it was only stolen from the front porch of the home office. I'll tell you what, though, Snowman.
What's that?
It'd be a sweet deal, no pun intended, if you see Dylan T. Pickles, contact your local authorities.
Right on.
Please.
I like it.
I got some stuff from UPI.com. Check this out. Cyclist got bullied during a California bike race. The Bianchi Rock Cobbler, an 80-mile off-road bike race, built a stupidly hard ride, was interrupted when a bull ran into the path of oncoming cyclists. 3 riders were attacked, leaving one contestant too sore to finish the race. The 2 others were able to finish. You know what, Snowman? It goes to show you don't have to mess with the bull to still get the horns.
That's right. You know what's crazy is I saw that video today. It was on one of my news feeds or something, and maybe it was Snapchat. Yeah, and that guy just got, he was riding down the road like he owned the place, and that bull just turned around and said, nope. I mean, he planted him hard.
Right. Yeah, he did. But I tell you what got me, 80-mile off-road bike race.
Yeah.
What are you, nuts?
What's the point? Motorcycle race maybe, but.
Right. That's a long ways.
That's a long ways.
I mean, I might be glad to be attacked by a bull.
Yeah.
Right. My ride's over.
That's right.
But 2 guys did finish.
That's right. Right.
The guy that got hit said he was just super sore. He had some neck soreness. A couple days later, his back was sore, and he's good. Good recovery.
Nice.
But, man, wow, excuse me. I'm going to take a quick trip around the world.
Okay.
SkyNews.com informs a singer and you probably know this guy. I mean, you might know this guy. James Blunt. He suggested to the New Zealand Parliament to use his own song, "You Are Beautiful," to disperse the protesters.
What?
Yeah. They were protesting at the Parliament, and he suggested they use his song to disperse. Well, it turns out the Parliament is playing songs on the loudspeaker to disperse the protest. They're playing stuff like Man on Those Greatest Hits, the big hit from the 90s, the Macarena.
Oh, yeah.
But protesters just respond by singing their own songs over their songs.
Right.
And you know what? To me, there's no need for signs or megaphones anymore. Because music is truly the universal language.
Yeah.
And that's all I got for you tonight, Snowman.
Well, that's pretty cool. It sounds like stuff is weird out there in the world as usual, like we like. And
Hey.
How's everything else going down there in Southeast Texas?
Hey, man, it's great.
Kind of weather?
Grilling, chilling. And we got, today it was 80 degrees. When I wake up in the morning, it's going to be 36.
That's a big swing, yeah. Yeah. Hey, when's the next boil?
Oh, man, we got a Valentine's Day boil. Of course, Valentine's Day is past, but it's coming up. We're waiting for some better weather, some lower prices on the crawfish. They're, still early in the season, so they're pretty pricey, and they're small. So we're waiting for size and price to come down. We're going to call it a Valentine's Day boil, and we're going to get it on.
Right on. I love it. Well, hey, thanks for being our special correspondent again tonight, and looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, you take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, you too, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Pork chop out.
All right. Thank you, Pork Chop. Really appreciate that report. What a guy. What a character. What a cat. All right. Why don't we go ahead and get to tonight's guest? Pretty stoked. All right. Welcome to the show, Albert Tibbets. Tibbets. I love that last name. It's got a commanding presence to it, but I think it was a lot of military reference too.
Yeah. Well, originally, my people subdued Great Britain. My people came over with Norman, or from the land of Norman, I should say, and with William the Conqueror. And the name actually has a meaning. It means people bold. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, you could be courageously bold, or it could be like me. Another use of the word bold would be peculiar.
All right. I recognize that remark to myself.
I think we all have that.
Well, thank you for being on the show tonight. And, of course, I billed you as the greatest guitar player of all time, so no pressure. No, I'm joking. I know you are one of my favorite musicians, and you're very talented, and I just wanted to get you on to kind of talk a little bit about your musical journey. I mean, I know there's no way we can do that in a tiny amount of time, but, if you want to just touch on where it all started, maybe some stops along the way, and kind of where you're at now and where you're headed with music. And then I thought for the listeners, at the end, we could just have you play for a while.
Oh, yeah.
If you'd be willing.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it. So tell me, when did this start for you? Like, when did you, 14 and I got a guitar, asked my parents at Christmas for a guitar, or what?
Well, you got the Christmas part right, and the age was a little younger than that. During that time, my first memories were 1959, and I was very little, and I remember I got this kind of a plastic, it wasn't really a guitar, it was more of a ukulele, but I thought of it as a guitar. My dad played a guitar, my big brother, who was extremely cool, played a guitar. And I saw Johnny Cash on American Bandstand, and he did I Walk the Line. And I remember he was wearing like this black T-shirt, and he was just this guy playing a guitar, and I thought, this is kind of cool. Wait a minute. I have this little thing. I can do that.
Right.
And so I started dinking around with that thing and just strumming on it. My brother came in the room one day, and I was imitating a character known as El Kabong, from the old Quick Draw McGraw cartoons. Okay. And he was a guy that would come in with the guitar and hit the bad guys on the head with the guitar, and it made this sound. And it was a hilarious sound of a guitar going kaboing.
Right. Strings.
Yeah, it was just a... And he said, I think we're not going to encourage that. And he showed me how to play a little something on the guitar using my thumb. And I could play this a little bit. He'd play the other part. It was a Hokey Carmichael song called Heart and Soul. And normally played it in a duet on a piano. Daddy would play the rhythm, and Junior would play da-da-da-da-da-da, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was my start to the guitar. It just always stuck with me.
Nice. Do you remember the very first guitar, like brand, model?
My first guitar that I played,
after the...
after the little plastic one, of course. It was a hand-me-down guitar. It was an old arch-top harmony guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the big sunburst, and the guitar was bigger than I was. And, of course, the action was absolutely horrible. The strings were so far away from the neck, it would take a pair of pliers to push them down. Yeah. And
I think that's why so many people gave up on guitar when they were learning. They would get a hold of a hand-me-down, and they'd be like, that's impossible.
You didn't really know why it didn't work.
Yeah.
You knew something was just not,
yeah.
But I kept seeing other people play, and I thought, there's got to be a way to do this. In those days, we did not, have the wonderful internet that we have now. And you could see virtually anything at any time. You could see greatness.
Yeah.
You can
Real
spend
time.
all afternoon just looking at one guitar player's thing. But back in the day, we had to slow the records down from 33 down to 16 and a third or whatever it was, 16 and a half RPMs. And that would get you about an octave lower than what the notes actually were. And you sat there long enough and were patient, you could play your song that you were after. And you could, lead guitar came later. I didn't really know what that was. I just thought, playing the chords, you were playing the song, Dan. And it wasn't until I heard guys like Dick Dale, the king of the surf guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a brutal player. I mean, he was like Woody the Woodpecker on a guitar. You could just see the blocks of wood coming off the guitar because his picking hand was brutal. But there was something in his sound that I thought that was pretty cool because he'd play this really fast, I guess they call it tremolo picking or something like that, where you're just going really fast. Mm-hmm. You're almost like a mandolin player, just really fast. I thought that was cool. And that was kind of it for me for the first number of years of my life. I wanted to do that, and then I heard this guy Jimi Hendrix, and I became aware of him. We were studying the phenomenon of Woodstock at school.
Where'd you grow up?
I was all over the place. I mean, my first memories were in a little town in north of Spokane, Washington. called Elk. It was a population like 1.5. You know, I mean, it was just a tiny place. But when I heard Hendrix, I was in Portland, Oregon at the time, and we were at Lloyd Light Middle School. It almost sounds like Bud Light Middle School.
Yeah.
You know? But no, it's called Floyd Light Middle School. It's still there, and it's right. You could see the Portland airport from there, and we had hip teachers. I mean, my math teacher came in one day, and this was after Woodstock. He goes, "Call me Ed." His name was Mr. Self. I got in trouble for calling him that. It's like, Mr. Self, I have a problem with this. Albert, we've talked. You know, it's so... It was a hip school, though. It was about 1970. And I wasn't quite in high school yet. And, no, it was late 69. It was right after Woodstock. And we started listening to the music. And some of it, I thought, hey, that's kind of all right. And then this guy named Jimi Hendrix came on. And in my opinion, at the time, because I didn't get it, was I thought he desecrated the national anthem. I didn't get what he was doing. I was like, why is he playing all this crazy stuff? And then as I got older, I put the pieces together and kind of went, yeah, I get it. The rocket's red glare, you know? It was all about, he was showing us, he was like William Shakespeare with the guitar, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's kind of neat. He's doing things, and some of his stuff kind of sounds like science fiction. You know, it sounded like, ooh, that could be a ray gun, or that could be a spaceship or something. You know, it just sounded extraordinary, really. You know, when looking back on it, and when I finally got what he was doing and figured out some of it, I mean, you know, not like, oh, I could play like Hendrix. No. But, you know, when I figured out the mechanics behind some of that stuff, it made me realize, you know, there is a lot to this instrument. You know, it's not just about playing chords. It's not just about playing something tasteful. You could play something crazy, and it has just as much validity as something else. Yeah. And then my brother came home from Vietnam. He stopped at the PX in San Francisco, and he caught the next plane out and came home. First thing he says to me when he comes through the door, he says, "Here, learn this. You'll be doing something." He threw a cassette tape at me. It was the best of Cream.
Oh, yeah.
That was, I mean, it was game over for me when I heard that. I heard Crossroads, and I don't know what this is, but I like it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I thought it was. I thought the English were these geniuses that came up with all this music.
Right.
And it wasn't until like the late 1970s, early 80s, I figured out, hey, these guys are just kind of doing these older American musicians' songs and redoing them. But I kind of had a twisted view of music for a lot of years, and I still do. I didn't, you know, so I'll listen to something and think, oh, I don't like that. And then I'll listen to it sometime later and go, wait a minute, I was too premature about this. I missed something. It's a part of the human experience, I think, because we're all kind of imperfect, you know, no matter how, you know, you might look up to somebody, oh, that guy's got it all, you know, he's going, he's laughing.
The truth, right.
You know.
So, do you remember the very first band name that you had?
The very first
that you were a part of?
The first band I was in that was really a band. We actually went out and played. We went to we went through the Midwest, ended up playing pretty close to the eastern coast. We didn't go all the way. We were as far east as you could go without being on the seaboard. We were kind of still the Midwest,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. But we were called Hard Tellin'.
Hard telling.
Yeah, it was just a name our bass player came up with. And he's from right around this part of the country where he was. He is deceased now, but his name was James Haley, and he used to work out at Prowler back in the day in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Prowler,
Okay.
which became Fleetwood, which became Keystone.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. That's cool. You remember the first paid gig?
My first paying gig that I was actually in a band just slightly prior to that. We were called Country Revival. And my first gig was at a club that's in Umatilla, Oregon. I was 17. I got paid like $35 to play, and I thought I was in just heaven.
I found my path.
Yeah. It was, and I learned you need to kind of watch people, because if they're asking questions like, have you seen my wife? You better be careful, because there could be gunplay. Yeah. And you just learn how to watch for those individuals that,
Right.
and you really watch the ones that are quiet and not saying too much and minding their own business, because usually somebody would make the mistake of going up to them and
Yeah.
trying to start something, and it wouldn't be good for the person that was instigating that.
Right.
But that's just the way, those gigs back in those days. There was a place to play just about on every street corner in America.
Isn't
there
that
was,
crazy? It's changed a lot.
yeah,
Huh?
yeah, it's changed, but there were things go in cycles.
Yeah.
It's like fashion. The things that are in now were in the 80s, some of it, and I'm like, hey, I went to school with that person. I remember them. They were kind of goofy.
Yeah. Yep. Weird how that works.
Yeah.
Weird how that works. So, any guitar that you had that you wish you still had?
Oh, yes.
What? I know you maybe have more than one, but what's the ranking number one?
It's really hard, but I had a 1968 Gibson Les Paul. It was a factory second, but it was still a 1968 Les Paul. And I don't mean a reissue. I mean it was a 1968 Gibson Les Paul. It was a custom model. It had the trapezoid inlays on an ebony fretboard, and it was kind of an ivory warm white. It was a beautiful sounding guitar. And the only thing was it got so heavy I couldn't play it anymore. It just started killing me.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But I loved the sound of it.
Yeah.
I mainly used it for rock and country, but it could do anything. I know it could.
What's your gear right now?
Right now, I have a little Yamaha amp that I use when I'm at home. It's a little desktop sort of thing, and it's got multi-effects in it. And I can run it in through my laptop and tweak things that I want to tweak on it. There's some interfaces in there that I like.
Right.
And I have a vintage, I think it's a 2010 LSL, and they're hand-built in California, Van Nuys. And the guy that builds them, his first name is Lance. I don't remember his last name, but his guitars are quite good. I mean, I've played a 1954 Stratocaster, and I know what they sound like and how they feel. And I couldn't justify spending as much money as they're wanting for one of those.
Right.
So the next best thing was to get this particular guitar. No, I've been known to modify guitars like crazy.
Understatement.
Sometimes I butcher them.
No,
Okay, let's
no.
just get on.
No, I mean it. You always put the touch.
But this one, I haven't done anything to. I did replace the they call it a tremolo, but it's actually a vibrato. You know, tremolo is an inaccurate term for what that thing does. It's a vibrato arm, or as we modern people call it, a whammy bar. Mine actually works now. It's balanced. It's a Wilkinson assembly, and it has staggered trem block, and that staggered business is what keeps the thing in tune. It does really good.
Yeah.
You have to do the old trick of taking your mechanical pencil and putting graphite in there under the nut, you know. And I put a lot of windings on it, which some people think that, you know, that's the wrong way to go. Putting more windings on it, you know, makes you have more of a chance to slip, is the thought. But what happens is you're pulling it down, the strings really down low on the tuning ferrules, and when you do that, you get more string break over the nut, and therefore you don't have to use those little string thingies that hold the strings down, like it holds down the B and the E string on an old Strat, and you don't have to use those, and so that it doesn't catch in there. And so it kind of, because I like using the trem. I used to, you know, really, everybody at one point in their life wanted to be Eddie Van Halen. Of course, you know, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Each guitar player kind of has their own thing, I think. And a lot of great guitar players out there, just tons of them. But, you know, the equipment that you use is kind of reflects a little bit on your past journey. You know, I used to have, you know, cabinets loaded with 412s in them and all that. Now I got a desktop type amp, and that means I would want to build, you know, my sound without breaking my body.
Yeah, that's playing the long game.
Yeah,
to keep playing music.
Yeah, I want to keep being able to do it. And I used to use these ridiculously thick strings. Yeah. And the reason I would do that was for the tone. Well, after a number of years doing that, your hands just can't take it anymore. Mine are, you know, I've been playing the guitar about 60 years now, and so that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, you know, if you equate time with greatness, I suppose, yeah, you know, but I can't equate it that way, because, you know, you're only as good as what you can play and what you've allowed yourself to play
and you've played all genres in a band of some sort, right? Because you've done country, rock. and blues and some dance music, this sort of thing. But you never really get a chance to explore everything, because if the moment you think you have, you're going to hear about some guy in Africa somewhere playing some new style that you've never even heard of. Right. It's going to happen. And you're like, well, let me try that.
And then the madness continues. You know, it's once it starts, you know, I don't know. I play for different reasons than I used to, and I've become somewhat reclusive, I think. And it's not because I think I'm anything special or anything like that. It's just, you know, after a while you just need more peace, and it's kind of like you pour the wine into the glass. and you got to let it breathe,
Right,
you know,
right.
or, you know, in
Right.
some cases like me, you got to switch it around in that glass, get a little more oxygen in it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, do you? I mean, this may sound like a weird question, but where do you think you're gonna? What's the road look like for you right now musically? Where are you headed, or where do you want to go?
I think kind of a self-expression sort of thing, you know, trying to figure out who I am, because I still haven't really done that. I've kind of just, I understand how people see me to a degree, and sometimes I will think that's me.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, I've discovered the real reason I played guitar was to overcome some fears, you know, of being shy, being picked on. You know, when you're a kid, everybody kind of goes through that thing where you just feel insecure. And I started feeling, hey, I could do anything with this thing, you know, and it's all right. And you start to actually feel like a rock star, even if you're not, you know. And
right.
but you feel that way, and you feel like your persona is developing based on what you can do with the guitar, and that's, you're kind of letting yourself in for a big fall. You know, you're setting yourself up for failure with that. And so I'm kind of asking the same question: where do you see yourself? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And why? And all this without being critical, because, you know, I'm not really into pressure. You know, there's so much of that in everyday life. There's pressure, and we can, what do we do with it? How do we handle it? And so it's just kind of with the guitar, I'm kind of, okay, just relax and see what comes, you know. Keep working on something. Play something you like.
Yeah.
You know?
The big difference when you really like what you're doing.
Yeah, you play something you like, and there's so many things that I like that I've learned about, and I like the expressiveness of the instrument. It's, you know, I think Mr. Jeff Beck said it, you know, it's my voice. That's what he said about the guitar, and I can kind of understand that answer a little bit. I'm not saying I'm anywhere near that man. Yeah, he's a phenomenon. But, you know, I see myself playing, but probably, you know, quieter venues than I was playing, because the loud sounds, after all these years, they just kind of taken a toll on my body physically, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's great. I love going and seeing a live show and somebody putting out a lot of energy, and it just makes you feel good. But can I do that for sustained periods? Could I go out on tour like some of these guys do?
Yeah. Do you want to? You know.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, if you wanted to, you would. But if you don't really want to do that, it's not the calling for you. Then.
Yeah. You kind of
more like coffee houses.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Has anybody been trying to talk you into doing some sort of coffee house?
Well, there's been a couple of individuals that have talked to me briefly about that, and I think it's a really good idea.
Kind of back where we started.
And that particular individual is probably one of the few that I would consider working with.
Right. All right. Well, we'll have to definitely try to get something going this summer or something.
I think it'll be a lot of fun.
And like we talked about, just the acoustic stuff, it's easier. There's no pressure. It's not hard on our ears. And we get Big Steve play a little harp if we can, because we got to get him out of the house.
I think his wife is probably going to get him out of here.
I feel like the last time I went to the post office, she held up one of those signs like, help me, you know, to get Steve out of the house.
Yeah,
so I think we better try to do something with him.
Maybe
I was hoping he was going to stop in tonight. You know, I offered him, and I had this envision that he could just play along here tonight and play harp, but that's all right. You know, we'll have him back on, and that's the beauty is they're not a real long show, so we're definitely going to have you back on if you'll consider coming back on down the road. I mean, we got some time left, but I definitely want you back on because I know you've got a lot of rabbit holes that we could go down, and one of them being, you know, I know you like sailboats. I'm going to save that story because it's a real tearjerker. It's a real tearjerker. So,
well, I did understand there was a certain amount of tragedy surrounding that particular boat.
I know.
And
I wish if I'd have known that, we'd have stole something off
yeah,
of it. I mean,
the logbook.
Yeah, or something that we could just, keepsake. But that's funny. So, well, yeah, that's cool. So it's been a journey, huh?
Yeah, it really has. And is it all worth it? You know? Well, you don't know that. Nobody knows the answer to that. Is it all worth it?
Yeah.
It is what it is. We're down here on this planet, and if you're given something, you should do something with it, you know?
Right.
You know? If you're given an automobile kit to build a complete car, and you build a yo-yo using its giant magnesium wheel, I suppose, yeah, that works. I feel like I'm that child.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So, looking back over the time that you were going out and doing actual gigs, you know, that hard, and I won't be offended if it wasn't a gig that was at the same band that I was in with you, but what has been, you look back and you're like, man, that might have been the best gig ever, where everything was right. Music, sound, you know what I'm talking about, that everything worked in your fingers and the cables and your tone coming out of the amp was right. And you were like, whew. You know, I know there's multiple nights, but do you have one gig that just stands out?
Well, you know, it's funny you should say that because it involves the same time zone as the sailboat.
All right.
That night, and
Yes.
I remember Mr. Humphrey singing a song, and I knew the words to the song, and then all of a sudden he wasn't singing those words, and I started listening a little closer, and I go, wait a minute, he's not even singing actual words. What's going on here? And I looked up, and, well, anyway.
Yeah.
We'll save that for another time.
That was so much fun, and maybe a little backstory for anybody listening is that was the first time we did that gig, right?
Yeah.
Somehow we ended up with this gig down in Troutdale in the marina, in this community, and they brought in a floating, you know, platform, and we were going to set the band on there and play to all the houseboat community. And that's essentially what happened, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. You're right, that was got to be one of the best for the time that I was with Big Steve and the Trainwreck, because, I mean, the music was good, the temperature was right, the food was good, everybody was festive. I think only one person fell in the water. You and I slept on a sailboat together, and that's going to be another episode. I don't want to, you know, make sure we don't give away that. But no, that was an amazing gig. But we've got about 6 minutes left, and I was wondering, would you consider, I mean, I could sit here and talk with you all night, but I'm going to have you back multiple times till you get sick of me. And then I thought I could even do maybe like a special correspondent thing and give you a call, and you could give us an update on a music scene or what you've researched lately or whatever you're into, because I know you love history and stuff like that also. But would you play us out? I mean, would you just play for a while? And, and whatever you want to play, you got 5 minutes and 20 seconds, and we'll kind of get everything set up here. And ladies and gentlemen, Albert Tibbets. I want to thank my listeners tonight. Thank my guest, Albert Tibbets. You going to come back for us?
Oh, sure, man. This has been fun.
All right. Keep playing. A couple more seconds.